Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? This is My Africa Show. As we all know, we have started a fresh, brand new month, December. And as usual, me and my colleague Demek, we will recap the major events that happened this week.
How was your week, Sek?
Oh my goodness, my week was so good. Class, work, and all that stuff. Grateful.
Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, how was your week?
It was very nice as well. It was a week full of work and a lot of interesting things happened around the world. So we'll be discussing a few things. So Tsagga, what do you have for us today?
So I wanted to start with this news. So every country has their own timeline in which they do elections. And recently, Namibia has made official that they want to be ruled by the first female president in history. Exactly, you have to do that. Do it loud and bold.
I know you were following this news up for a while now.
Yeah, because it's pretty interesting, especially the tension that there was between the opposers or the opposing parties and the ruling party. The election overall was pretty exciting and the people's engagement was very fascinating, I could say. So this election made it more interesting for me because ever since Namibia was freed from, was independent, which means around 1990, the party that is ruling Namibia now, which is the SWAPO party, has been in control of the government. The first female president that won, which is, her name is Netumbo Nandi, she was first the vice president.
Of the same party.
Exactly, okay. Of the same party, and she was ruling the country, which is Namibia, as a vice president. So when this election was held, she just changed the title and the responsibilities, obviously. And that caused even the tension between
the opposition
party even to grow. Because they were asking for change, actual change. Because this party that I told you, they were like in control for like 34 years. And so first, this person that I told you, was before her being vice president, she was a foreign minister.
Okay, so she was in the political system for a very long time in that country.
A very long time. So after she was first she was a foreign minister, and last February she was appointed she became the vice president, and now she officially won the election.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So did this answer the question that the population had regarding the change of the governments for that had the power for the past 40 years?
So the thing is, usually when election happens, we all know that it is more about the ruling party that wants to stay in power and the opposition party that wants to take the power. It's not more about the people. I mean, you do campaigns so that they will give you their voice.
It's not the end of acquiring political power and influence.
Exactly. So the opposition party were saying that this election is illegal because there were a lot of challenges, like shortage of ballots. There were some places that had no infrastructure where people couldn't vote. So that made the election even harder. And the ruling party extended the election till Saturday. So that made it even more illegal. They said they pushed it on purpose, and this made the election to go
favor the other side.
Favor the current ruling party.
So the presidency seat is changed, not the political party that is ruling the country.
Exactly.
So it will continue to rule the country,
exactly.
But it will have its first appointed female president.
Exactly.
It's a progress.
It is a progress. I mean, it's a small step at a time, I guess. Especially when we see such kind of change, we have to remind or talk about the role of women when it comes to leadership. Nowadays, we see a lot of women in the governmental space, making sure that females are in that area, making or changing or contributing something to their country. So that is something to be appreciated, I could say. But that's the news that I have, as an icebreaker for this.
That is truly amazing to hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of democracy.
Okay, I know you say that. I know where you're going with this, but okay, go
Democracy
on.
In some ways is the respect and the rule of law, right? So if they have it under their law, it is democracy. So recently, for our audience, Joe Biden pardoned his son.
Interesting.
On everything that he has done. Not only things that he has done, or things he also pardoned him for 11 years to come on any charges that will come based on his past.
the way I perceive this, I don't think it's fair. But is that even legal?
So it is possible. It is legal. Yes, it has some conditions to it, but it's still a legal thing. And every president, every U.S. president has the power to give a pardon to who they see fit based on the criteria. So, for example, they cannot pardon anyone who has more charges than states, or anyone who has charges greater than a state. You cannot pardon anyone who is wanted by the federal government or has wrongdoings under the federal government. But presidents can pardon people who are wanted under state legislations. So one is that. The other thing is they cannot pardon any political figures who are currently running the country. So he does not come under both specifications. Was it morally right? Is the biggest question.
True.
So we've recently even talked about the things that the Democrats will do by the end of this term will be very interesting to watch. Biden has been promising that he will not involve in these legal battles for the past 4 years. That he respects the country's legal system to make the right decision based on what Hunter Biden did or what he deserves. It even got to a point where Hunter Biden got into a plea deal, which means he admitted to certain things in a condition where he would get a lighter sentences. So he already admitted that he did those things.
It was just asking for forgiveness.
In some ways, maybe subtracted jail time or other attributes that could be done for him. So that means he already even accepted the charges that were put against him. Charges range from tax evasions, from weapon ownership in the wrong way, even though it's legal in America, and some other drug-related and child pornography-related things. If you remember, there was a whole laptop, the Hunter Biden files, all of that is forgiven. When we say it's forgiven, it does not strike it completely from Hunter Biden's record. It only prevents the legal system to prosecute him under those wrongdoings. So he's practically a free man now, not only for the things that are already put on him, or also for the things that will be found in the next 11 years. So this was very interesting to watch, and both sides, both the Democrats and Republican sides, acted in a very peculiar way. For obviously, the Republicans did not accept this action, even though they cannot really do anything about it, even though Trump is saying when he gets to power, he will find ways to see this through, or see Hunter Biden
files
and other departments regarding that. And the Democrats are running out of reasons to defend Biden at this point. They straight out started complaining about everything, starting from you should have resigned earlier and gave Kamala more time to
do things.
They flipped everything, but he does not care anymore.
And in fact, maybe this is just a drama that they're just doing, trying to make, because either ways, if Biden is not, Biden might not compete for the coming election, but the Democrats will keep going.
Or maybe it's a branding strategy for the Democrats. That may be the case. The other thing is the reason that Joe Biden gave, why he changed his mind, even though he was very persistent on saying, I will not involve, is that he said in his statement that every action and every investigation and every attack that came on Hunter Biden came because of Joe Biden. That's what he said, what Joe Biden believes.
So he feels like it's his responsibility.
It was because of my political accusations or my political enemies trying to get to me who attacked my son.
They didn't attack, they just revealed the truth.
Exactly, but this is the narratives that they're pushing, and Trump is saying that's the same thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
Why didn't you not say anything that time and you changed your... The other thing is Biden, when he was in the Senate, when Biden was in Congress, he was known to be brutal about drug usage, especially crack cocaine and heroin and so on.
And now it's okay when this is your
exactly.
child, your son.
He has pushed laws that put thousands of African Americans and minorities in jail because of the use of heroin, and because how much stricter it become, and rather than finding a solution, you know, even during the opioid crisis. But now things have flipped around. So yeah, I found that really amazing to watch, and it was a topic throughout the week.
Wow, that's such a hot topic, you know.
Yes,
I want to make sure that I follow up this news.
We will see how, but it's over. He already got his part.
That is true. So, you know, the next news that I have is pretty much something that made me feel proud as an African. When we talk about young children and the way we are raising them, we all have, especially as a parents, people have this question: how am I supposed to create that awareness for my kids? What is it that I'm supposed to show them? What is it that I can buy for them? Books, you know,
Sense of belongingness.
Exactly, especially for Africans that live outside of Africa, in different cultures. So this book is specifically written for kids. With the time where you start to read, the time where you start to engage with the world around you, that time is the most critical time, I believe. So this book is called The 7 Wonders of Africa, and is written by Kelly, artist Kelly. And she said that the most fascinating thing about this thing is that she didn't write this book because she saw the gap. Not only because of that, but also because she was inspired by her travels. Every time she traveled across Africa, she saw something different, at the same time similar. And when she asked this question, how many young Africans, how many young African kids do know about the actual thing in Africa, it's literally none. So what is it that we're doing as parents? When she asked herself that question, that's when the answer came, and that's when the 7 Wonders of Africa became an outcome, I can say. So this book, the main character is called Abel. And yes, just like, so his name is Abel, and he travels all across, he travels
Africa.
to, yes, different part of Africa.
So it's his adventure through Africa.
Exactly.
You actually raised a good point. Growing up, not only here in Africa, but any African root, any person who has African roots, or any parents who have African roots want to teach their next generation about the culture and create a sense of belongingness with their motherland. And there are not many opportunities, especially for kids, which promotes those ideologies. And this is really interesting to watch.
Exactly. Alongside the release of this book, she also surprised us by opening her own company called Make It Black.
Wow, that's bold.
It is bold, and it is something that we need right now, I believe. It's because a lot of characters that are being built by Europeans, Americans, deliberately are making us think that the heroes are whites. The people that are solution-oriented are whites. Unconsciously, we're getting into that understanding, into that mindset. So we have to create black figures, especially for our kids.
Black superheroes kids could look up for.
Exactly. So yeah, this book, I hope, will create, I mean,
it will, even if it only
small.
influences one person, it's still a change. It's a chain reaction that needs to be created.
Period.
That's what I believe.
Yes.
So next, I want to talk about Donald Trump and BRICS. We all knew this day would come when Donald Trump won, because we all knew that Donald Trump would bring America First policy 2.0. Recently, in the past few weeks, we have noticed that Donald Trump giving threats to China, Mexico, and Canada to impose higher tariffs if they don't do trades that favors America, and America is losing money over that. And there have been a lot of reactions towards that, starting from Canada reacting as soon as that statement aired under their foreign minister, and then the Canadian President Justin Trudeau going to USA to meet with Donald Trump and discuss on such issues. The same thing with the Mexican president promising more control over the borders to favor American policies, so Trump won't do that. And also explaining to Trump that this is mutual distraction, that if tariffs are raised in Canada or Mexico, it's not only Canada and Mexico that will be hurt, it's the people that work between Canada and Mexico, it's the products that come into America from Canada and Mexico, because additional tariffs means additional price on goods that will, at the end of the day, go down to the population who will be consuming the product. So while all this was going, Trump released a statement directly to the BRICS countries saying, recently, we have noticed that the BRICS countries is trying to move towards its own currency, and if the BRICS countries try to do anything that will try to undermine the dollar's dominance in the world, he will implement high, like 100% tariffs in each country that is involved under the BRIC. So this is interesting in so many ways. Yeah. So many ways. Yes. But first, I want to say a little bit on how the dollar became this dominant, because we have to understand that. It all started in World War I. America was not that much involved in World War I, but was actively lending money to European countries that were involved in the war. So it was able to accumulate wealth while other powerful countries were losing wealth. So first, it got this dominance there. Where by the end of World War, US had a lot of money that it lended to the Europeans and other countries, which has interests, and some of them paid back in gold and other attributes. And when we come to the Second World War, US was declared winner. So it gave it more power. By the Second World War, when they were rebuilding Europe and so on, most of the golds and other reserves of European countries were in America through borrowing and some for safekeeping. Okay. So America stored all the gold and other stuff and gave dollar as an insurance for based on the gold. So at that time, the gold was based on dollar. So in the dollar was based on gold. So for such amount of dollar, there's such amount of gold in the American reserves.
Interesting. So this is like a technique that we can say they used to make the dollar value strong.
At that time,
yeah,
many countries were following this. So any countries, the country's finance or the country's wealth were determined by the amount of gold they had, and they printed money based on the amount of gold they had. So this was until President Nixon period. So in the 1970s, what happened was many of the countries that gave America their wealth for safekeeping and other factors started asking for their money back because they were growing and they were more stable.
Yeah, we're safe now.
Yeah, you can give us some, but yeah, at that time, America could not pay all of them because America started printing more money than the gold that they had.
Oh, wow.
So it wouldn't balance out.
Okay.
So in the 1970s, Nixon took America off the gold standards. So the dollar was not based on gold anymore. So you might ask, what backed up the dollar? What gave the dollar power?
That's mentality that...
Yeah, so what they did was, it was faith. They went from gold to faith. I am serious.
Serious?
Yes, it was faith in the development and power of America.
Okay.
So it was in gold, then it changed to the power and dominance of America and the constant growth that America will provide. You will have faith in America's development, so you could base the dollar on.
Interesting.
So it changed from gold to faith, so they could pay back everyone. They could just print as much money as they want and pay back their loans, which still they didn't. America is still the highest country with loan, more than 4 trillion. But still, that's what they did at that time.
Oh.
And a bit down the road, America actually found a safe haven in Saudi Arabia. So the oil was struck in Saudi Arabia. America swooped in and made a deal with Saudi Arabia that every oil trade will be done under the dollar. So every country in the world to acquire oil needed dollar. So that gave America more dominance. That gave dollar more dominance.
Yeah, you know what?
So now it's more based on oil.
Yeah.
And now these days when you come, it's shifting again. So countries like Russia and India are using their own currency to trade. They're not using the dollar anymore. Countries like Russia and North Korea are using their own currency. Recently, Ethiopia and Russia made a deal to a certain figure amount to trade by their own currencies. And the coming of BRICS makes this worse.
Exactly.
It makes things much worse.
Yeah.
So, you're trying to say?
Yeah, like the whole situation actually created this impression that America, as if we see America as an individual, is insecure. You know, because Donald Trump knows what could actually happen if the BRICS, you know, follows up their rules.
It's more than half the world population under BRICS.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned that. Many countries do not react to Trump's declaration of this. Only Russia did. And what Russia said through her president is very powerful. They practically said what you said now. This over-aggressiveness to keep the dollar on top, and this dominance, trying to acquire this over-dominance will actually fasten the fall of the dollar.
That's what I had in mind.
Exactly. And so the other thing that they were saying related to that is one of the biggest reasons that accelerated the downfall of dollar is the war, the Russia-Ukraine war and the other wars. So the sanctions too. So when America was throwing sanctions everywhere, it used its dollar dominance. Or the sanctions were based on goods, dollar, and other kind of trade equities. So countries started to realize, oh, if I rely on dollar fully, one day America has the power to do this to me.
And I'll just fall.
So I have to build my own connections on how I will trade with other countries. All in all, that's the reality we are in today.
Wow.
So I don't think Trump will go through with the tariffs because they cannot raise tariffs on Brazil, Russia, China,
South Africa.
South Africa. If we take only even China and Brazil, Brazil is the higher export of coffee to America, which is the highest importer of coffee.
Exactly. Americans cannot exist without coffee.
They cannot exist without other countries as well. They produce so little. Most things are imported.
That is just...
So it's just an open bark. There are some other policy changes that they might take to destabilize BRICS, which they were able to destabilize many
such kind of
alliances and such kind of countries trying to replace the dollar dominance. The other things that makes BRICS' money very fearful is it will be based on gold or assets of the country. So it will be more reliable than dollar.
Then, I mean, faith.
So we will see how this goes.
Yes, this is just mind-blowing. So we'll be passing on to this news that happened in China. So as we know, Chinese people are growing fast in technology, advancement, in growth like infrastructure development and so on. So lately, there was this news that was released that said Chinese universities will start teaching courses about love.
Maybe I need a scholarship.
Maybe you need a scholarship. That we do need a scholarship, trust me. Because it's not only about love that they teach, but also about emotional intelligence on how to differentiate romantic love and the love that you have for yourself, for those people around you, for your country. And I was like, wow, this is just so important.
Okay, so when they say love, it's generally the love connection, not specific to relationships.
Like under the concept love, there is romantic relationships.
Okay, so I only thought they were giving courses on
that's
romantic.
Why you wanted the scholar.
I did not say such a thing.
So the thing that made this thing very interesting is that it shows how much development should not be one-sided, right? So this shows that how much China focuses on the social strength. Exactly, the social strength that the country has. Because if you do not have a good society that understands themselves, the people around them, their country, their culture, it's
relationship they have between each other.
Exactly. It's pointless if you just build a, 1,000 feet buildings. It's pointless if you have the latest roads. You need to have a nation, a citizen that understands and values the power of humanity. And from those things, it's about emotional intelligence, love, care, and all those things are going to be included, not at all universities in China, but in some specific universities. This, I found it pretty nice, and I wish that we could include it in our country.
That is true. You always said emotional intelligence is overlooked in our country.
Oh yeah, not only in a country level, but also in your work environment, in your household. People don't understand how important emotional intelligence is, and people don't even take the courage to know and try to change what they have to change and strengthen what they have to strengthen when it comes to emotional intelligence. I think that's our soft spot for all of us.
True.
Yeah.
I guess we'll work on it, and I'll look up the scholarship.
Yes, please do. Just
I'll
send me
let
the
you
link.
know.
Send me the link.
It's truly interesting, but building the structure of a country also involves building the social structure of a country. One usually overlooks the other one and it creates some kind of instability, and this is...
Yes, and if that happens, the development or the growth that happens will be temporary. Yes. You don't have that strong base, so you'll fall anytime soon.
That is very true.
Yeah. So that was it.
Okay, let's go to our final news.
Oh yeah, sadly.
Recently, the South Korean president, early this week, issued a martial law. You might wonder why, because we did not recently hear any instabilities coming out of South Korea. And you might wonder what happened and what was the extent of the martial law and why he did it and why they did it. So it was an individual decision by the president.
Interesting.
When things settled down, that was what we understood. So what happened was he declared the martial law, and it only lasted for 6 hours. That's very interesting, right?
Okay.
So the reason...
So there was something suspicious.
There was something very suspicious, because the reason that he said he declared a martial law was that North Korean influencer or North Korean spies have infiltrated the South Korean government system. And he had to declare martial law to protect the government system, both from people's rising, tempted by the spies tempted by the corruptors that joined from North Korea, or instability reason under his governments, because people who deflected from his governmental system are still working for the other side. So this created a panic in his cabinet. So he declared the martial law. But in only 6 hours, the parliament had an emergency meeting and they blocked the martial law. So this did not happen. But in the short span, in the short 6 hour span, a lot of things happened, which even today, huge protests are happening in South Korea, which are pushing for the resignation of the president. So he just worsened the things for himself. So we've recently seen heightened tensions between North Korea and South Korea. So they've been sending garbage by flying bags and so on. This kind of manipulative and petty things have been going between the countries. So he believed that some people were in his circle from that side, so he had to take a major action. So one of the things that he said were very restricted in the martial law was any kind of political gathering or any kind of political attributes to the government. So it instigated things more worse, and this is still ongoing. But yeah, these are some of the interesting things I found this week.
This is so interesting. I mean, we can understand that clearly your actions have their own consequences. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean you should. Especially when you're in power, you need to understand that even the simple answer like yes or no can cause a lot of chaos.
It did. No, because South Korea is known for its technological factors. Many factories are there, and many electronic equipment manufacturers are in South Korea. This disrupted their whole process system and disrupted the world market in that short time.
6 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah.
That's
it's not even,
important.
it's like a half day.
Yeah, that's how important the South Korean economy is to the world. So you can imagine.
Within this week, a lot of things happened here in our country, Ethiopia, all across the world. But for this week, this is what we had for you guys. If there is any news that you found that is very interesting that you guys want to share to us, feel free to let us know on our short SMS 6121. And as in for our digital audiences, please feel free to go below this video, share us what you have in mind, and we'll see and respond. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a blessed weekend.
Have a blessed weekend.
Bye.
Bye.